Are you ready for a practice? You're brave to be here. We're all brave to be here. Do you feel that? We're brave to be taking on an intentional spiritual practice. Very brave. At this time and space, it's a lot easier to go into some other reality. Addiction, busyness, building up things on the planet, fixing a bathroom, putting in a kitchen, taking a vacation, doing anything to get away from now. Do you feel that? Yeah. Maybe, maybe not. You are courageous to be here and have a practice. We've recently been diving in on Sunday conversations to metaphysics and the idea of what underlies and paying attention to what underlies what is visible, what underlies what you see, the current of life that is unfolding. We've spoken about the hidden curriculum, that there are deeper layers and levels of learning and understanding that we're here to gain and develop, that there are deeper patterns we're here to be present to. And we've talked about the access point, like the spiritual access point, where we access divine source and touching the stillness, really rewiring not just the brain, but yes, the brain, rewiring it with silence. And using the practice, using meditation, mindfulness, contemplation to reconnect consciously with our source. Of course, we're never disconnected with our source, but to become really conscious of it. Myrtle Fillmore, and I have not figured out where she said this, it came to me in ministerial school. It was sometime in ministerial school that this reading or writing from Myrtle Fillmore came to me. But she talked about addiction and kind of like mental health addiction. And she said that addiction is often present in people that have a very, very, very deep spiritual calling, that are very, like their souls here on earth are very like developed and intense. You know how you could think about addiction sometimes as like not being that, right? It seems like a check out, right? Seems like checking out. But she had some writing leading us to the possibility to entertain the thought that that's actually an incredibly deeply spiritual person. And that for whatever reason, sometimes there's a part of their being that just needs to check out. Like, this isn't what we are. Like, you know, we're souls on this human experience of life. And so what we're doing here, what I see outside of me is sometimes so limited or so off track with the fullness of who we are, the unlimited nature of who we are. I have to like dummy it down. I have to like quiet it a little bit. I have to go somewhere else. It's a very powerful teaching. If we think about that with this era of life that we're living in, what does that say about the collective, right? Because there's things happening in the collective that we sometimes just want to go, no, I don't want to see that. Let me just go off into my own world. So I don't have to be a part of that. So I don't have to presence that. Because I don't know how to fix that or solve that. But I know that we are souls expressing, and we are more than this. We are more than what I see outside of me. We're more than the systems we're creating, the limited systems. We're more than the fear. We're more than the killing. We're more than the war. We're more than all of this. So how do we take this insight that Myrtle gave us and bring it into this conversation about the collective and the collective unfoldment and raising of vibration, consciousness, awareness, mindfulness that we have the opportunity to recognize right now so that we don't fall asleep to what we were looking at and what we are looking with. I have a girlfriend, a great girlfriend, who's a therapist, and so we do check-ins, and she tells me how many people she's going to see that day, and sometimes I'm just like in awe of how many people. I'm like, what? And so I was giving her kudos, compliments the other day about, I know that a private practice can be, that's a challenge to generate a private practice, and she deserves those kudos. And I'm like, I'm amazed at how many clients you have. And she, without, devaluing what she offers as her spiritual gift on the planet. She just said, well, I think this is everyone since the pandemic. Like the rise in mental health has been incredible. And it's like everyone has a counselor now. Everyone's in counseling. She's like, all counselors, they're all maxed out. Like this is the era we're living in. I grew up and my mom was a counselor and I watched her, generate a private practice. And it used to be like other things that you generated that you needed to stay on top of it. You needed to, go out there and invite people in. Well, what's happening now is that like people are knocking down the doors. Knocking on the doors, knocking down the doors. People that aren't knocking down the door and getting a therapist, they're knocking on the doors of everyone they know and every system they know or every substance they know, whatever it is, right? Fill in the blank, knocking on the doors. So can we acknowledge that and can we take that knowing that is an impulse to growth? That knowing that on a collective level, we are awakening, we are waking up, we are paying attention. If we just look at it on the human condition level, just look at it as humanity, a human thing, then we might miss what's really going on underneath it. Because if it's just a human thing, it's just about me and either what's wrong with me or how I'm having a hard time coping. But when we look at it spiritually, when we look at the hidden curriculum, when we look at it metaphysically, we recognize that there is something happening. Pierre Desjardins, is that his name? Teilhard. Wrote about the phenomena of man, woman, person. And in this writing, which is way too hard to comprehend for the normal, brain, it's like all about evolution of consciousness, right? About what we are as a collective species and what we are evolving to. Deepak Chopra puts it into language that most people can get, and that's about the evolution of God consciousness. Right? God mind evolving, humanity waking up to its divinity together. If we fail to see that, we're operating in our own little bubble and we're not really getting what's going on. This stage and this state, this rise in mental health, rise in addiction, rise in discomfort, rise in destabilization is actually something that to some degree we've been groomed for. We've been groomed for it. It's irrelevant to me whether it's consciously or unconsciously, right? Is anyone freaked out at all about AI? I don't even know what it is really, but I do, but I know my phone knows and I know it's listening to me and I know I have friends that know about some of that stuff and when I talk to them, I'm like, what are you talking about? And some people love it. It's terrifying and it's incredible. Like, I was having some freaky thoughts about, how the thing about your phone and then your phone hears you, like it can hear this and then it's going to find what is there and give it to you. And then it can start knowing you before you know yourself. So before I know what my next thought's going to be, it might be a little smarter. It might be more mindful. It might be a little more aware and be like, this is what she's going to ask for next. Scary and amazing. AI therapy. There probably are AI therapists.
It will be straightforward.
Yeah. So, if you look at that spiritually, I know this is just too weird for a Sunday morning, but if you look at that spiritually, nothing is outside of God.
Yes. Amen.
It's an impossibility. I can hear Ragazi, he's doing his Nothing is outside of God. So what does that mean? That means there's something we can see in that pattern of it's knowing me before I'm knowing myself and I'm awakening to myself. Like there's something about all of this in the fabric of spirituality that is an awakening, that is just pointing to things, going, wake up, wake up. And just like everything in the realm of duality, we have the opportunity to use it for good or use it for darkness. Use it for absence, use it for fear, use it for lack. So we have the opportunity to step into collaboration with the awakening or to destabilize. And it takes our conscious participation in it, because there is a level of that even showing us that there is an awakening to deeper levels of awareness and a deeper level of mind. Nothing is separate. That's a spiritual truth. Nothing is separate. We cannot be separate from anything. We can have perceptions of separation. So there is an evolution of consciousness that we are right smack dab in the middle of. And it's uncomfortable, isn't it? But here's the wild thing. We have been preparing this. If you have been in Unity, New Thought, if you have been in your own practice of going to headquarters with your spirituality, you have been training for this your whole life. You have been training for this your whole incarnation. You have been practicing listening. You have been practicing getting it. You've been practicing looking at your own healing. You've been practicing applying principles to your life and living by them. You've been practicing your vulnerability, your integrity, your mind, your mindfulness, your awakening, your opening, your I am nature. And it may have felt to many of us that before this time and space, it was just like that was just about me and trying to apply it to my life as an individual. And sometimes it felt like it worked, sometimes it didn't. Now it's about us as a collective. And we've been practicing for this. And it's about us awakening together. Now, in religious terms, that could be the second coming. That could be called the awakening of the God within the Christ consciousness, within the awakening of the anointed one. It's what was demonstrated in the master teacher, Jesus. It's what has been demonstrated in practitioners of awakening, of knowing our humanity, knowing our divinity, knowing what we are as individuals. But this is the collective. So that's the coming forth of the collective I am, of knowing our oneness. Oneness is the best way to really describe it outside of the religious terms and outside of anything else, but oneness and an awakening to what we truly are, who we truly are. Like, yes, we have bodies and we have forms, but we are spiritual beings, emanations of God, learning to understand itself, to experience itself. And it's happening on all levels. Now, can you just think for a moment what that's doing to our reptilian brains? The realization of this concept and the acting out, not in our own little worlds, like trying it on, going, okay, affirmations, denials, okay, I co-create, okay, through changing my perception, I shift my reality. But what it's doing to our reptilian brains to do it as a collective. And what our brains, our humanity, our bodies have gone through since the beginning of when they were born. Just think back to a moment of when you were born. Think about all of the inputs you were present to. Now think about today. Think about the waves. Microwaves were a big deal. I was so proud this week because my daughter said, I asked her to microwave something for the first time. Like I asked her to do something for me. Like I just sat there and was like, hey, can you put this in the microwave for me? She's going to be 6, so I thought that's kind of okay to do. And it was in a bag. And she walked into the house. We were on the back deck. She walked into the house. Then I heard her go the wrong way. So I got up and I watched her and I followed her in. She took the bag and she put it in the air fryer and turned it on. Now, it was okay, don't worry, because I was right there. So I was like, oh, sweetie, that is like the warmer, the toaster oven, the air fryer. Do you know what the microwave is? And she was like, I have my microwave in the garage so that I don't use it so much. I know, weird. Unless you're weird like me, then you know why. But I have it in the garage. And I was like, dude, my daughter is 6 and she doesn't know what a microwave is. Score! I didn't even notice she didn't know what it was. I didn't know she didn't know what a microwave is. How weird does that make her as a child on the planet today? Awesomely weird. I mean, it's about to get weirder when she goes to school and realizes that's right. Beyond normal, like standard, right? But that's what I'm saying. These waves, we used to talk about microwaves. Ooh, don't stand in front of your microwave. But all the input that's coming at us, it is so much. It is so much right now. You know, our little brains, think about summer. Think about phones, think about computers, think about AI, think about the internet. You know, I just realized social media, you know what it is? Like, you know, in a class, when you have a class and there's a discussion group to go along with the class so that you can do your deeper work? That's all social media is. But it's a class and everybody's in the discussion group. Everybody. 2,500 people in my discussion group, plus the people that pop off and on from theirs. Think about that. And we're interacting with it on a day-to-day basis or not. I have a girlfriend that refuses to be on social media. And can I do a survey? And do this in the Zoom room too. And on Facebook. Well, obviously you're on social media if you're on Facebook. See, it's all getting fuzzy. But raise your hand if you have some sort of social media account. Okay. So my girlfriend does not have one. And she watches people. And she's like, this phenomena happening in the world is terrifying. It's like she reminds me of what it was like right before that happened. And she says, you know, when people have an event or an activity, they have to call me. When people want to know how I feel about something or what I think, they have to pick up the phone. We have to connect as humans right here. Not just they get to post it, and if it goes by me, I see and I'm updated. It's a different world. And she can see from her world what it is like in our world. Has anyone been noticing when you go out into the world how much people are on their phones? I think I'm recovering from a phone injury because I do so much work on my phone. Okay, who else has this? You have something with your phone and your thumbs? Anyone else having thumb aches and hand aches? Because we're holding some like heavy little thing? And I don't want to admit it to myself, but I'm like, I think I have an injury.
I still have an old Nintendo in
And I'm like, I think it really came from that. But you go out these days, and sometimes it seems like we're a bunch of zombies on a device. And we're all guilty of it, well, except for my girlfriend and your friend that's not on it. But it is a phenomenon that's shocking. So we're diving into these portals of conversation, of discussion group, of awareness, whatever. We're diving into them. How often are we diving into them? Where are we? Are we rooted and grounded in our practice? This isn't to make any of it bad. It's all there, right? It's all there for us to ask questions, to look at, to unfold, to bring forth in that the highest. So the highest nature of that is there's a place where we're all at, or a lot of us, right? There's a place where we can communicate. Like I was thinking about the other day with ministry, if we came off of social media, we'd be even more silent. Like, how do we talk to everybody as a ministry if we came off? But we are at an expansion point of consciousness. And it is very intense. And for the human condition that grew up in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, we are maxed out on a brain level. Like our little reptilian brains are like, what is going on? So how do we prepare? How do we apply our spiritual practice to deal with that? Because there's an awakening coming on. So enough about what is destabilizing, which happens internally, systematically, cellularly. We can see it, right? Let's talk about what is stabilizing. What is stabilizing? Can you breathe into that with me? Just even say the word to yourself in your own being, stabilizing. Can you feel the groundedness there, the shift? This is the practice. What's stabilizing is grounding for the now, being grounded, building up for it. So how do we do that? We go within, like a tuning fork, like plugging ourselves in. We go within and we expand to the best of our ability, to the greatest of our potential. Our ability is to tune in, to do our meditation or our mindfulness practice, to do our contemplation, to create moments of silence, moments of stillness, moments where we're kind of like recalibrating the body, recalibrating the being according to the I am nature, coming home. And doing that more and more frequently for expanded periods of time, even doing that with our eyes open while we're walking and functioning and talking and living. The next part of building up and grounding for it is to recognize the spiritual dynamics and the undercurrent that's going on, and to understand our role in the destabilization or the stabilization, to stop thinking about our lives as separate and the dynamics in our own lives, our own personal lives, as separate from the collective, and recognize that it's all one, it's all an unfoldment. We're even all getting the same, I think, information about our own growth and expansion and about the collective. Like, you know, this little thing, I'm hesitant to bring this up, but this little thing that happened with the Chiefs player. The Chiefs player and the Catholic graduation that had women at it. It's so fun, isn't it? It's so fun to be in drama. It's like addictive. Did you think there was any possibility we could give him an out today? Probably not, right? Who's getting fired up by people giving him outs for what he did? If you don't know, good for you for not paying attention to this stuff. I didn't even look at it because I'm not even looking at stuff anymore. It just comes to me from all of you. But so someone gave a commencement speech, right, at the college, and included in there this little detour or very planned grand tour about the role of women, and an acknowledgement about the role of women to have family, values, and to raise their kids and to get married. And so whatever you might be using this degree for or not, like, this is really what's important to you. And I see that and I hear that. So here's the deal. We're all getting the same thing. We're just getting it in the context of our upbringing, our religion, our social structures, our consciousness, and our concepts. What he was expressing was similar. Who's running out of the sanctuary? Was similar to what we're expressing when we say the world is going too fast and children need time with their parents. They need someone that's with them. We need to know about the importance of human connections and heart to heart. We need to know that I can't be everything to everyone all the time. Who doesn't feel some sort of an intensity around the pull about that with the culture that we're going through? We have grandparents parenting children. We have people running around and living their lives but not being able to slow down enough to look at the child they brought onto the planet and to walk with them. That is hard to deny, right, in our circle of consciousness, that we shouldn't have to have two parents or a whole family working to keep one family or one home afloat, right? Like my way of interpreting it is going, everyone should have to work part-time. If you have a child, 20 hours a week is a full job. If you have two people providing for that, 20 hours each, so that the other ones are free to take care of each other and to live life. We've evolved past the time where that's even a possibility. So he, I think spiritually, is getting that same download, but it's coming through the infrastructure of Christendom and whatever you want to call whatever that is. That doesn't say you're a whole person. How would you raise your child, or how would you spend your time? Because how many of us right now, if there was some program or some plan that was like, you could go to halftime for the same amount, and one of you gets to stay home and be a husband or be a wife or watch the kids either 50% of the time or 100% of the time. Who wouldn't sign up for that? right? Who wouldn't say that that would be really healthy for our society? That somehow we let go of something that used to be a standard. That grandparents had time to be grandparents. The power of a grandparent being a grandparent, not necessarily having to be the primary parent or hold up their child and hold up the grandchild and hold it, there's a million stories of this. But that download, that information is coming to all of us in different ways, based on our limitations, based on our views, based on our constructs. And the more we're in oneness, the more expansive and the more nurturing to all of humanity and to the collective our intuitions and our insights are. And the more we're fear-based, limitation-based, role-based, black and white thinking, religious, you keep filling in the blank. The more we are in those constricted states of consciousness, the more it's going to come through. And it's the same similar dynamics of what the calling is, but it is a way different story. And now everyone's going, oh my gosh, they're trying to take us here. They're trying to take us here. It's the end of the world because people are going over here. It's the end of the world because people are going over here. Can we recognize the spiritual dynamics that underlie all of it so that we don't buy into the story of division? We still stand up, right? We still go through the motions. That was insane. That was inappropriate. But what I hear you on is this part. How that speaks to me is this way. What that says to me is this, so I can stand in the place of what I get from that and deconstruct the structures that limit God consciousness, that limit women, that limit people, that limit the beauty of a family system. Can we break the traditions? So don't get distracted by the stories. Don't get distracted by the spin. We're getting out of the realm of theory now for our spiritual practice and really hardcore into the realm of practicing the practice together. So we have relied on our practice for years. We've studied, we've processed, we've learned, we've healed, we've encouraged ourselves to stay awake. And now we're being asked to step it up on all levels, not just for ourselves, but for the unfolding collective consciousness. How do we spend our time? How do we use our consciousness? How do we apply our practice? Because now is the time, and we are the ones to lead with love. Namaste.